morning.
I remember 06, I was plotting on now. Always knew that I would be, I just didn't know how. Dedicated to the art, felt rejected from the crowd. When I turned it up, life turned my shit down. Bro, you know how I feel.
Tagging the world up. Good morning.
Started with an idea, then it resonated with millions. Started off broke, ended up with billions. Same reason why these young niggas are billion. Not a gangster, I'm a real one. For my dreams, I stood up on us like we fear nothing. Selling gas like gas stations, it ain't a career, bro. Sticking to my goals, I never steer from. I know you probably thinking girls and hits, but I got better shit to talk about than ass and tits. What's on your mind and what you package with? What's unique with your design, not what you package with. So mind, girl. Are you scheming on this dream instead of giving help? They only see a local nigga who don't believe in self. They don't believe in you. They don't believe in wealth. You don't believe in you. You gotta trust yourself. You gotta trust your plan. You gotta trust your help. You gotta see this shit through.
No one fucking helps.
No one fucking cares. They tell you fuck yourself. They tell you fuck your dreams. They don't deal with wealth. It's not enough poverty. Niggas fucking melt. Niggas squeeze. And then they tell themselves.
Tagging the world up. Share this video if you can for me.
You hear it in my voice. Hear it in my cries. I had no fucking choice. I kept grinding for it. People know my voice. People know my sound. They ain't got no fucking choice.
Yeah. Good morning. Start off with some positive energy this morning. I'm saying tagging the world up. Let me tag. If you're watching, tag up for me. Share this video with some people. Help me get right this morning. So we're going to have a good conversation today. I got a chance to see Black Panther. If I'm looking down, y'all, it's because I'm looking down at the screen. I'm sharing. I got a chance to see the movie Black Panther 2. And I also came across the story about the black couple who sold, they had sold like 326 acres for 13 million. And the conversation that was started yesterday on my page was, you know, I said it was the dumbest thing they could have ever done. So it was a big debate back and forth whether if it was a good idea, if it was a bad idea. And in reality, either way, regardless of the conversation, I do respect their decision to sell, and that's what's best for them. But I'm gonna explain why I feel like, or why a lot of people in the comments and what they were saying. And I'm gonna go back to that. I'm gonna read from my comments on that. Let's go. Hold on one second. So let's get it jumping. All right. So first thing I'm gonna talk about this morning is the movie Black Panther. I was able to see the movie Black Panther. Cut this light on behind me, y'all. I was able to see the movie Black Panther this weekend, and it was crazy because I heard all of the conversations about how, like, you know, the father wasn't in the movie, and there was no black men presence except for the one guy. And so I wanted to really check it out and break it down because I knew I had to see it. When I did my first review, just off of what I seen and what a lot of people came back to me about, because they was telling me what they saw, and from what they gave me, I did my first convo off the basis, even from just watching and what we know from King T'Challa died. And it's a couple things I want to point out. First, I want to speak about the movie from just the aspect of historically about the people of the Mayans. I also want to speak about the importance of the movie. Another part I want to talk about too is like, we can complain about the black men not being in the movie, and I won't sidestep that or say that that's not important because we know how I feel. But I will say, let's have a conversation too. Let's put that to the side, and let's talk about the importance of women seeing themselves in a certain light as a superhero, or them being marketed to be the forebearers of our culture. And regardless, I think that it's a powerful thing. When I was watching it, I kept thinking to myself, like, yo, I love this shit. But I was thinking, like, imagine how the women feel in the movie theaters, right? The same way how we felt for years. And I think that we still got to fight for, the representation of the family. But I don't think them being empowered as much is a bad thing. It comes down to our relationship with our women, right? That's the key. Right, because if they're gonna push the culture forward, as my mother said, well, black women the reason why the black family survived slavery, because the black family survived it, but the black woman helped push it forward even in turmoil. So we'll start from the beginning. So historically, when I seen the movie, I knew that they're gonna make a whole bunch of movies off of this, but they connected the characters to like the Mayans and the underwater civilization supposed to be Atlantis. They just changed the name. But that even the name, like some of the names, like there's a something as like Lake Titicaca or Titicaca. Like these are real like city, like holy places. Like some of this got names just like it. But when we talk about the Black Panther, one of the things that we got to realize is that they're gonna market this to the Hispanics. And no offense, right? Because that's what the stuff is, but the way that they do is a lot of our cultures and history all over the world, meaning the people of darker color, today the people that live there claim a lot of ownership to these things. And so on a movie base, it would be smart to market this to the Hispanics. So they do, but to be fair, the Hispanics do have a blood lineage back to it, just like we do. They are brothers, right? But for the record, before we start, this is what the Mayans look like. Now, I bring this up to let you know that's the importance of understanding history. We go to the movie theaters, they're going to give us a lot of history. So, and I'm going to bring this back up later. It's a reason why I'm showing y'all what they look like, because it's going to make sense of where we're going. So in the movie Black Panther, I noticed at the beginning, she's working a lot his sister, who in some sense, like, the Black Panther. Remember, Killmonger destroyed the plants because he didn't want nobody to come behind him, stuff like that. And he destroyed the plant that helped them, that made them in the Black Panther. Well, basically, the United States government, in some sense, is drilling in the ocean somewhere. They done found some more of this stuff that Black Panther them used. And they try to go get it, but they're really infiltrating on Namor's land, territory. Now, Namor, the people are blue, but he's in the movie, he tell you they come from land, like they lived in South America. But the colonizers came and they prayed and they had a vision. So the leader had jumped in the water, he seen something, and it was the plant. It was a similar plant to what the Black Panther and the Wakandas used. And they took it. Now, Namor's mother was human, and she took this plant. They always humans. They took this plant, but then they kind of passed out and woke up and they all couldn't breathe, so they ran to the water. Now, all of them were blue. Namor, differently from the rest of them, is that he ain't really blue. He got wings on his feet, but he says he's a mutant. So we instantly, if you understand, like, okay, so he's going to somehow be connected to an X-Men. right? That allows them to put him in X-Men, right? Because he got mutant. And then we need to understand what this mutated gene is, right? Then we got, so that's what they're drilling. This is not to go too far off. They're drilling. So, you know, it go down. So the queen, she's trying to get her, because, you know, the king died. You know, one of the things I want to say, I be feeling insulted in Black Panther. It's like that when the movie come on and they do all this African shit, I be insulted. I be highly insulted because it's like when I look at the characters, you know, they don't even really appear to be like Africans. At least it's a $1 billion movie. So at least go get some real tribes in there and let them do, you know what I'm saying? Because when they do certain shit, it kind of like they glorify certain aspects of the culture, which is like, I just don't like it. But the queen is trying to get, I can't think of her name, trying to get his sister, the new Black Panther, trying to get her to stop doing work because she, you know, she's into technology. She's a genius. Our women are geniuses, right? But her technology, she's trying to figure it out. She's spending instead of her stressing, she's putting it in her work. So she's trying to figure out what she can do. So her mom tried to tell her not to, you know, she has to mourn. So she tell her to come with her. She go to the lake. And now, mind you, they in Wakanda that can't be detected. And they talking, and she telling her, you need to burn some of the old clothes because it's a way to, it's like a ritual to do to get over somebody and by the water. All right. So she like, you know better than to know that your brother is not gone. You know what I'm saying? You know better. So Namor pops about the fucking water. And so they trying to figure out how did Namor get in Wakanda, right? Because he came through the water. How was he not detected? You know what I'm saying? And then he was just telling them like, look, we need each other. So the point of it was just drawing a line that he was telling them is some people, somebody in America created a drill or something where they could detect this stuff, and they found it and they infringing on my home and bring me to scientists. That's what the movie basis is. Now, the crazy part about Namor people was blue. If you look on the walls in Egypt and mostly all ancient cultures, there's always a blue being. I think like a SAR is blue, right? Like blue is to what like pigment is to black people, to the skin, or green to plants is like pigment is to people, right? So I think one of the biggest things is that understanding that just the aspect of blue is deep. If you understand ancient cultures, it's always a deity that's blue. Then it's also because in Samaria is one too. Another thing is like that underwater city is kind of supposed to be like Atlantis. They just, of course, changed the name because they probably for copyright issues or just the aspect of being able to change it and do what they feel. Now, he was just trying to protect his people, really, because after they survived, he had like children, you know, all this shit. He took the queen, not the queen, but his sister, King T'Challa's sister, went down there with him, like, because they were trying to get her. Then she surrendered to him, like, yo, take me where you from. It was just like us. They had children, all this shit. They had technology. They had used it, but they were a lot more. See, the question is this: Black Panther used this stuff, and they made amazing technology out of it, but they hybrided it. He was using pure, like, vibranium. So his weapons was pure. So, like, you know, he was able to like cut through their ships with his shit because his shit was pure. It won't like cut down or watered down like drugs in America. You know what I'm saying? So in reality, they got a common interest. Now, without me telling y'all the whole movie to people that didn't see it, I want y'all to understand that the black man is like the dude who he tries to challenge Namor, but Namor is like a mutant, damn near a god. And he punched the nigga chest in and he couldn't breathe. And it's funny, but it's not funny because what's really going on in the movie is a demasculation of the black man because he's big, chunky, right? And then they got his I mean, I get it, you know what I'm saying? But it's a little bit for me when I be sitting there thinking like they had to put us with a you know what I'm saying? With an 8, you know what I'm saying? And he ain't got no superpowers other than his strength. He just strong as shit. That ain't no superpower. He just strong as hell, right? But they make it seem like he's not the smartest. Right? That's a subliminal of the movie. Is he strong, but he not the smartest? So that whole character of him, I feel is insulting because he has no power. Right? So it's the queen. It's, you know what I'm saying, the girl scientist, the one that created the joint. She a black girl, and then the King T'Challa's sister, who is basically becomes a new ruler and a new Black Panther. Now, the way that they did, T'Challa was dead, and then also how the other parent dies in the movie. One of the things I noticed when I seen the queen go, and I won't tell you how, when I seen her go, it made me think about they was doing away with the black family, because King T'Challa was dead, and then when the queen died, right, which always was crazy, was the queen his mother? But that's like ancient culture. Like a lot of them married their mothers. So once T'Challa was gone and then the queen was gone, the throne fell to the daughter. Now, if we want to talk colonization and history, we were taught that the man is the rightful bearer of the throne. But if you dig deep enough, originally the female was the bearer of the throne. That's deep, deep history. They don't talk about that type of history. So even in Thor, like I told you in Thor and Ragnarok, he was telling Thor, really, you want the firstborn. Your sister was, and she was way better than you at war, but she loved it. She loved violence. And I wanted to bring peace to the solar system. She wanted to conquer it. It's the same story. See, these old ancient stories and these myths and what we call them, some of these is word of mouth passed down and stuff like, and they're just telling you ancient ideas, ideology, and history intertwined in a story. So with both of them gone, it leaves and what bothered me was like, I never seen is she in love? Is there any boy in Wakanda she like? I don't remember ever seeing even in the first movie. Do she like men? Do she? You know what I'm saying? So they never showed it. Like in Black Panther, they showed the other girl that who he was like in love with, or I know the queen was his mom, but the girl that he was in love with, like his sweetheart, the one that left Wakanda, she was in love with him. So it showed that he liked women, but they don't really specify that. Then a lot of the women, which in the movie, I kept thinking like, is that a real woman or is that a trans? But I think that's a real African woman because the features are very strong, real high cheekbones. I got some of them cheekbones. Hers is really like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I noticed it was very manly presence of women, but that's the Naomi tribe, the same one from the Women King. Now, there's a part of the movie where when her daughter gets taken, the new Black Panther, right? Before she gets the Black Panther shit, when she gets taken, when the person that always protected the king, you know what I'm talking about, the bald-headed one, the one everybody liked, when she came back without the queen, when she came back without to tell her sister, the queen got mad at her and stripped her of all her rank. And it was crazy because she did everything she could. And then the wife knocked her, right? And she was like, when T'Challa lost the seat to the throne and Killmonger, you protect the Killmonger. No, what she was doing was her job to the throne. Her job is to protect the throne. The politics of who gets the throne ain't her job and her politics. But as soon as she got back in power, she reacted off of emotion. This is one of the reasons why the women and men came to choose while the men became in power of ruling of Egypt and these societies. Or they rule side by side. You know what I'm saying? Because her emotion, there was no reason to strip her. If you're going to strip her, she fought with her life. And even the men was like, she fought with her life. She tried to get it back and she always been loyal. And she was like, I don't care, I lost my family. That's the irrational thinking off of emotion, right? And that puts another strain. So you got the queen and then you got the protector. The queen and think about it. The relationship between the queen and the leader of the women that guard the king is going to be strained naturally. Just put this in real life perspective. I'm the king of the household, but I got women that protect me of the empire. And then there's one that's like, she damn near my wife mentally because she with me every day. She loyal to me. She'll die for me, right? She there. She on the front line. So my wife 9 times out of 10 naturally is going to feel some way. And it wasn't shown. They didn't express it that way, but that's common sense. And so when she took all the rank from her and made it regular, you know what I'm saying? But it's crazy. So they fought. They went. It wasn't about, this movie wasn't about them fighting America. America was intertwined with it, or as they say, the European was intertwined with it because they was the one that it all started because they went and tried to find that stuff, and they basically was by Namor's home, and that's why they attacked them. But they never got into war with the military like that. He was going to Wakanda saying, "I need your help. We got to protect each other. But if you ain't gonna help me, I'll bring. Listen, I got more people than you got." Sand. That's what he was saying. You feel me? And they had more people than they had sand. And it was deep. All the people were blue, but he wasn't blue. And he was the only one that could fly and the only one that could breathe out of water. Right? And if you go back to ancient history and culture, you will learn that one of the most important things, good morning. One of the most important things is that if you look on the walls in Samaria, either they always had like the fish people, a picture of like a man with his body, he had a man face, but his body was a fish, he had human legs. You see these depictions on the wall. And they say that they taught men in certain cultures. So this is where history intertwines with these movies. That's why it has such a hold and impact on us, because the information that we're seeing already exists in our DNA, and these stories have truth to them, right? So they go on to war. Wakanda and them going to war because basically he tell them, go get the scientists or we'll go to war with you, right? Because you got a relationship with them. And they try to go get the girl and bring her back to try to see what's up, but then, T'Challa's sister gets basically kidnapped, but she was like, just take me. But they took, because they wanted the scientists. They really wanted to kill her so that they couldn't have the technology to find them no more. And the girl that found it, she was a genius, a black girl. And I feel like she gonna tie into like Iron Man somewhere. So they're at war. So they go to the sea and fight. Like they go to the area where they at and they fight them. And it's funny because they're using like sound waves to keep them off of the ships and them, right? But once they get that weapon down, it's like it's all hell break loose. Like the motherfuckers like roaches as deep as they is. And I hate to say that, but they like not comparing them to Hispanics. I'm saying that's how deep they is. You know what I'm saying? Like he had more people than sand. You know what I'm saying? So, but that go back to the ideology of understanding that we got more people than sand on earth. We are not the minorities on the planet. And even our brothers, the Hispanics, you know what I'm saying? A lot of times, y'all see my hair, right? When I really was growing my hair, a lot of Hispanics, even before I had my hair, when I had waves, the texture of my hair, a lot of Hispanics I work with in restaurants used to be like, yo, you look like my great grandmother or my grandfather. Same texture of hair, everything. So if you think that you don't, and I know for a fact, like my mother's mother was indigenous to Virginia and Blackfoot. And I'm gonna bring that up later when we talk about this land, because I have family that sold the property, about all that Virginia Beach property for nothing and got murdered. And that shit is billionaire property right now. So, but the point I'm saying is that in the movie, I seen the black man getting taken out the movie in the script, and I seen it, but I wasn't offended because, like Boyce Watkins said, we live in a culture, we grew up around a woman-dominated society. Our mothers, our grandmothers, our aunts dominated, right? Even though it might not be the true structure, but that's the structure that's why when women see it, they can say. But I think as men, we need to check ourselves a little bit. As a black man, after I seen Black Panther, I wasn't offended. I felt like we need to applaud black women and our sisters for they had to sit back for the last couple 100 years, and not so much with us, but during like coming out of slavery and the position they sat back and watched us always be glorified, whether if it was a white man or whether if we had a black superhero or whatever, or if we had representation. We live in a time where it's their turn to get it. But just like us, they got to learn something from it. And they got to know, like, the goal is to separate the black man from the black woman. So they gave the black man power at first. And then they seen that, what did that cause revolutionaries? And they was like, nah, they got too much mobility. They can do too much. I don't think that's going to work. Let's strip them of that financial, because if they the ones that, if the women depend on them and the men, when they move, the women going to move and they got a unit. But if we give the women they time now and we push the men down and we can keep them distracted, keep them focused on saying, fuck the black man, he ain't shit. Let's keep them focused. And in this movie, it was like, I know two of the girls of the Warriors, I think they were in a gay relationship. And that's what I got from it. And then you remember, like, when she took her rank from her, one of the men was like, I mean, she fought her husband. She fought her husband for the throne. How you gonna take her thing? You feel me? And that's deep. Even though she protected her husband and was loyal to her husband over her husband, she fought her husband and lost basically her relationship for the king. You know what I'm saying? It's a very deep aspect. It's very important, more than what we thinking about. They're also showing women that, you know, a real king, a man that a woman would consider a king or worth that, you know, he need other women in his circle. But it's always one woman in the circle that got potential, just like his wife, but might be a little bit more in the field, a warrior, this, and that. It don't mean like there's no way the king doesn't love her and he spent all that time with her. Don't mean that it got to be sexual, but that's the aspect. And I think as men, we shouldn't be as selfish about that, because I think it's key to understand that in Black Panther, that they just letting the women get their shit. There's a reason. In history, the more you dig and go back to the woman, and the more we dig and dig and dig and dig and dig and dig, in about 10 years, we will all understand why they're doing this. And then from there, our women got to make a choice. Do they want to move forward with us or without us? Is it important? Because even though you will take your rightful place in the front, you need your military, and women need men's leadership. Just like a man, when we sit on the throne, we need women to lead us in decision making, because she bears life, and her understanding and the things that she brings that we just can't focus on. Everything we do, she can intensify times 1,000. So that's why I was telling women, like, yeah, you need a man, right? And you need a man, whether if it's your advisor or your husband, because if a woman had the ability to see, a woman can see what a man can be, what she can do with him, what he can be, where he should be, where he gonna be, but she doesn't see him now. If a woman had that ability, it wouldn't be a bunch of single women with baby daddy bad choice, and not blaming them, but saying if a woman had the ability to make the choice, she would make the choice from the beginning. She wouldn't make mistakes with, you know what I'm saying? She can see the good in the person, but she also is blinded by what else that comes with the package. So if she has a man advisor saying like, yeah, he's good, but I mean, he's really lazy or this and that, I'm a man, I know, if she listens, it'll help. And that's what the advising of a woman in power. If you let if the women allow, because Wakanda right now, the queen's gone, so it's the women in Wyoming, I mean the Naomi tribe, which is the true name of the women, the Naomi tribe protecting the king, but he's gone, so now it's a female Black Panther, a female circle around them, right? And there's no masculine presence in Wakanda technically. It's still old boy, which he gonna have to get some type of technology, or why don't they just give him some of the plant and let him protect his people as well? But another thing, what was very weird is that in order to become the Black Panther, it wasn't just about taking the plant. She took the plant that she created off his DNA and what she had, and she made a plant similar. And she went through the ritual as T'Challa did. And then when she woke up, she thought she was gonna see her mother and father. She seen Killmonger, and he said, yo, she like, I'm nothing like you. He said, you're a lot more like me than you think. You know what I'm saying? I was trying to free my people, but I can't, you know, basically he was rooted in trying to get revenge, and that's the wrong way. You got to still be logical and understand, because revenge could get your people killed or lead you to bad. That's why they didn't have no more plants. And then when she went back, she didn't want to tell nobody that's who she saw. So, but the truth is, she was going after, she wanted to go after Namor because of what she did to her mother, and also because, you know, out of revenge. So I think it's important now. Remember, Killmonger had to fight T'Challa, and he beat him fair and square. Remember, he was a Black man that went to the military. He was the best. And then he had mental warfare. He understood military strategy. He understood everything. His shit was together. But, you know, the movie couldn't allow you to see a revolutionary as the hero. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. You never know. I hope they bring him back, because he would have to be the person that probably could bring him back to life and would be a ruler in the future. But he had to fight for the throne. She didn't fight. You know what I'm saying? She didn't fight, and I thought that was weird of the ritual. You know what I'm saying? Like, they should have found some, like, if that's been a ritual, why did they break it? They just kind of, you know what I mean? They went past it. And I think that's crazy. And okay, so I will say this too. The reason why I was showing you the pictures of the dark-skinned people, the Mayans, is at the end of this movie, they end up coming to an agreement basically that they'll work together, right? Because they got common interest in that stuff that they both have. And it's going to come a time when they're going to need each other, when they both might become the villain of Wakanda, of the United States government. or the colonizers, as they call them. But the reason is not just because they really are brothers. That's the part of the movie that's the deepest. Remember, it's really because that's what they look like. The Wakandans and them. And if you know the history of South America, you know the Maya and the Aztec, they're all descended from parts of the Olmecs. And the Olmecs have been traced back till they came over from Africa, right? And Mansa Musa, who was the richest man in the world, they have proof that he was Montezuma of the Aztecs. He was one of the rulers. And they say 30% of the Olmecs rulers were of African. But I always say it was the first 30%. So if there was, let's just say there was 10 rulers, the first 3 or the first 4 that reigned for 100 some years, or you know what I'm saying, they were of complete descent from the motherland. So I just want y'all to keep that in mind. And another thing is that even in this picture, these are still the African men, but only difference is they got their hair cut all the way off, and now you can see the protrusions of the noses. But as you see, look. But why? Because they're brothers. That's the deepest part. It ain't just because of the thing. It's because they know they're gonna need each other. Because really, they like imagine in real life at the time, it would have been like, damn, these dark-skinned people. Like, damn, where y'all from? And they would have probably come back to it like, yo, it's gonna come out in a later movie. So that's that. Now, my last conversation that I want to talk about this morning is my conversation of the people that sold land. Hold on, y'all. The people that sold these 326 acres, I believe. Yeah. Black couple sells their 236 acre farm in upstate New York to developers for 13.7 million. So I did my research yesterday and I realized that in America, the average acre in America costs about $3,800. And so I said I rounded off to 4,000. When I did the math, that should only equal out like 1.456 thousand. I mean 1.4 million, 1.56 million. So if they would have sold the land for the value, it was only worth 1.4. So people are like, shit, they made 13. That means they made it times 13. They can go buy more land and double or triple that. Well, that's kind of true. But you don't know, like, why were they so interested in the land? My question to this black couple, excuse me, y'all. My question to this black couple is, did they ever test the soil? Do they know what minerals is on that land? Do they know what ancient artifacts of pyramids could be on that land? Because America got pyramids. What's on that land? That's the first question you need to know to understand the value of your land. Because let's say they strike oil in 4 years, that property, the oil on the property is $1 trillion business, right? So another thing is robbery, because land has more value than cash does. So when we start talking about the land and the money, the issue is, yes, if you do it by 3,800 or 4,000, it only equals almost $2 million. So when you're at 13 million, you say that's good. But like I said, what if there's gold on this land? What if there's gems? What if there's rare metals and material in the earth in this area in these 236 acres? It's a lot of fucking land. But the way you got to do business, just like as an artist, if they want to come and buy Black House, I don't let them. Black House, they might say, well, technically with your worth and what we see that you worth, you know, right now per song, and we say even if these only went gold, if because you got so much music, if only we'll give you 5 million, right? And then you'll say, well, shit, bro, 5 million, a lot of money. Or they say, we'll give you 10 million. And he'd be like, man, I'm turning over probably like 20 albums and all that, right? So people will say, man, you won, man, you won. But in business, it's not just about what you have right now. It's about what's the projected sales? How much revenue do they think that they're going to make off these 10, 20 albums and different songs and singles? How do they plan up? What's the plan? So just like with land, they might be projected to make 300 million. They robbed me for that 5 million. I should have got like 50 out of that 200. But if I understood my projected value, it'd be different. So just like with that land, So y'all about to buy it. What is it? Who bought it? Amazon? They about to build 50 warehouses. Oh, and by 2035, it'll be a $1 trillion industry. Oh, Silicon Valley is going to build a school over here. So if the land is projected to make $1 billion in 20 years, and they gave you 13 million, they robbed you. But you robbed yourself because you thought it was a good idea, because you don't understand. So yeah, the land is only worth 2 million, but money can't be equated for land. So I'm gonna give y'all a game this morning. I was talking to my wife, and I told her recently, I said, yo, my goal for 2023 is that I plan on buying an acre or a half an acre every year. Right? And so some people I talked to was like, that's dope, but look, you got to think, when you buy this land, if you can get some land that is all trees, so you got to get it cleared, that costs money. You got to get sewage, that costs money. You got to get power lines over there if you need power and all of this stuff. And I said, that's true. And I broke down to everybody. I said, but think about it. Let's say 3-4 years from now, the world go bad, right? But I done did enough work in the next 3-4 years that at least I fenced up all my little, if I done gathered up, let's say 6 acres, I done fenced it in, right? Or fenced in a certain area of it, right? And then y'all know I got the dogs, you know what I'm saying? I got 6 dogs, 6, you know what I'm saying? I got 4 American bullies, a bulldog, and a bulldog mixed with a bully, right? 3 girls, 3 boys. So then you talk about my land. I got into dogs because I always had plans of ownership. So I understand, because remember I told y'all earlier that my family was Blackfoot, but they are indigenous to the area by Virginia Beach. Well, they had this land, they had bought it back, some of this land. And my grandmother's generation, I believe most of her siblings sold all their land except for one sister. Still got that land to this day. Her father told her not to sell it, and she didn't. Everybody else sold it, and they got like thousands. I think back then, like the 70s, 80s, they got like probably like 70,000, 50,000. They got robbed. That same property worth 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 million. Parts of the property. That's where all the beach houses is now. You know, all the beach houses, if you go to Virginia Beach and you stay in the beach houses or the timeshares over there, all that beachside property. Back then, the land was undeveloped, so it was probably only worth like $1,000 an acre. It's $800 an acre. But we're not thinking. I want y'all to pay attention this morning. It costs about $3,800 an acre. So a half an acre, so say almost $4,000, we tax $4,000. Half an acre, $2,000. A fourth an acre, $1,000. Now, I didn't understand acres until I went out to the country, because that's what my wife from and done. So I got to see this shit firsthand for a couple years. But I was like, it was a house. It was sitting on like a third of an acre, I believe. But it had a front yard about the size of like an apartment building in the parking lot in front, like kind of like, right? And then it had a driveway, a garage, and then in the back, it was enough space where all 6 of my dogs could run around and play all day long. And it was right by a field. So this was like a third of an acre or half an acre. So that's like, this is the best representation I can give y'all. This is my Nipsey tray. Shout out to Shooter, wife who made this tray. You know what I'm saying? Hustle. So the house on here would be like this. This is what the acre look like. So to explain to you. It'd be a little smaller. So let's take about this much of the phone off. But I got enough room in the front yard for a driveway, right? That can fit about 4 to 6 cars. You know what I'm saying? In the back of this house, there was it looked like a house, but it was a shed, one of them fancy ones. And it had a piano and enough room for a piano and like 3 people in there, and another side that could have had a studio and enough to fit like 10 people. And that was back there. There was a tree on this side, and then there was an area where like 12 kids could play that could fit right there in that corner. If we filled it up with people, it probably could hold a family of 10. Like, I'm talking about like great-great-grandmama and 8 kids kids. So it can hold at least, if it just filled up with people, it probably could hold 1,000 people, shoulder to shoulder. An acre is bigger than what we think. So my goal from now on, even with my kennel, is buying an acre. And I was saying worst case scenario, so we understand what we're talking about. Worst case scenario, what do I do? Let's say 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and I done acquired 7, 8, 9, 10 acres. But I ain't got shit. I ain't cleared the land. I ain't did nothing, but I got the land. If I ain't got nothing but the land, and everybody in my family lose everything, and we ain't got nothing, we can go there. That's my shit. We need to fence it. Now we got to think about it. We need to cut these trees down, and we need to build houses with these shits. We're gonna learn. We need to, you know what I'm saying? If it's trees and stuff over here, we need to figure out what type of soil we got. Is it rich? Is it not? See, when I lived in Dunn, I was fucked up the first year, like, babe, why they setting the fields on fire? And she like, oh, because after they finish growing, they set the fields on fire and make the soil rich. So I was like, so why don't they explain that same shit to us in school about these wildfires in the forest? We like the universe, the wildfires and destroying the earth and the universe. No, it's not. A fire, from what we learned from farmers, make the soil richer. And then they'll grow like sweet potatoes. And then after they finish the harvest, they'll smush the sweet potatoes back in the soil to make the soil rich. And then they'll go to the next harvest. So that means that there's a process that you can do to make your soil richer. Once you know where it's at. Now, do you live on, is it red dirt? Because some shit ain't gonna grow. Is it healthy soil? Is it topsoil? You know what I'm saying? So, because you want to know if I clear it out, I can build with the wood, I can grow food up here. I just got to get seeds. And then we thinking about like living. And then my wife was like, well, you know, windmills still work. And I was like, how much you think a small windmills cost today with all the technology? And she was like, not as much as we think. So that's how you get electricity. Then she was like, but we got solar panels too. You can spend your money on solar panels. Or would you rather have 4 acres in your name and y'all got to get it out the mud? Kids can still go to school, build the house. Rather if you got to put a trailer on that motherfucker to start. You know what I mean? Worst case scenario, you could do a lot. But if you spend 5, 10 years, first you end up getting 5, 10, 20 acres by the time you get older, 50, 60. But if you invest it, you go ahead and say, well, how much it costs to clear about a half an acre? Because you need to clear it for land space to live and to grow. Okay. You clear it, you get it flat, you get that established. Then from there, now you got the part you live on. The rest of your shit ain't got to be developed until you ready. It might be one of your kids that might be like, you know what? Daddy left me 4 acres. He gonna start developing that shit. And then if you did well, you left him a little change, but you divide it up. But I was taught is how do you buy land and make sure that your future generations can't sell it? You can split it up amongst the family, but there is ways. There is ways. Right now, they sold for 13 million, but what are they going to build on it? What is over there? What are they going to do? What's the projected sales? That's the question. So just like in art, when they offer you money, if they offered you $1 million, you worth about 40, 50. So you need to ask, what's the projected sales? Now, you ain't sold no records, but you need to see what they thinking and what's going on, because they ain't trying to make 5, 10 million. They trying to make 30, 40. So that's the key to everything. And so that's why I would say buying land is better than buying a house, because a land don't have value really. There's no dollar amount that equates to land. So if right now, if 100 black people own 1,000 acres in America, let's just say, and they all buy, if everybody take a whole bunch of money, let's say all the billionaires, trillionaires start just saying like, yo, we give you 50 million for your land that's only worth 5, and give each one of them 50. Yeah, these black people rich as shit, but now we have no landowners. If shit go wrong and we need to grow food for our culture, or something go wrong just for our own individual families, we can't do it. And now we victim to this shit. So think about it. BH.